Indeed, the summit may have ended early, but that does not mean the negotiations will stop. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo spoke to reporters aboard a plane from Vietnam to the Philippines. He said talks would resume soon after some time to regroup. Nothing is officially scheduled. Pompeo also said while there was no agreement, there was progress. Let's talk about that more with Robert Litwak. He's an expert on non-proliferation and the Senior Vice President and Director of International Security Studies at the Wilson Center. Robert, welcome to our program. Was this summit a diplomatic failure? There are some who might argue no deal is better than a bad deal.
That's true. I think the Trump administration had already begun to lower expectations for the summit going into it. I mean, the focus of the meeting is really on, at this point, constraining or limiting the North Korean nuclear program, not eliminating it. And that would be a long, drawn-out process. Indeed, both sides are committed to denuclearization, but their conceptions of what denuclearization is are very different. For North Korea, denuclearization would entail specifics such as the ending of the U.S. security commitment to South Korea, the withdrawal of troops, etc., highly problematic from the U.S. side. I think the main benefit of the summits has been to change the psychology of the crisis, because you'll recall that in 2017, in the heightened tensions of that year, there was increased discussion about a military option vis-a-vis North Korea. I think now, with the suspension of these talks, and they will resume at some point, the military option is been pushed off the table.
So you believe the president made the right decision by walking away?
I think there was not a comprehensive deal to be had at this point. They're going to have to work it through at the expert level. And I think the obvious next step would be to see what type of reciprocal incremental steps could be taken. So sort of action for action. I mean, that's what is the most plausible way forward. Closing the Yongbyon facility could lead to partial lifting of sanctions. The American concern is not just the Yongbyon facility, which is their nuclear site where they've been producing both plutonium and enriched uranium, but covert sites elsewhere that have not yet been declared. It doesn't make any sense to just close Yongbyon if these covert sites continue to produce weapons-usable material. So there's a big nuclear infrastructure in North Korea, and it'll have to be tackled probably incrementally.
If the two sides, Robert, couldn't bridge the gap in Hanoi, what makes us believe they can bridge the gap, period?
That's a fair question. I think it really speaks to the issue of adjusting our expectations, because as the U.S. intelligence officials testified in Congress several weeks ago, North Korea is not going to give up nuclear weapons that it considers essential for regime survival. So what we're talking about plausibly now is an interim agreement that would constrain or cap the growth of the North Korean program so that a bad problem doesn't get worse. And the U.S. narrative would be that this is an interim step towards long-term denuclearization. The North Koreans would pocket that and claim that they've been accepted by the United States as an equal party. You have the North Korean leader sitting across the table from the President of the United States, tremendous kind of legitimacy and prestige from that. And North Korea will, for the foreseeable future, retain its nuclear arsenal. For China, I think the issue is what are they prepared? What is the Chinese government prepared to do to bring meaningful pressure to bear on North Korea so that it will take concrete steps towards denuclearization? Because I said that the military option had been pushed off, but you could see if the North Korean program again becomes unconstrained, the revival of the kinds of tensions that we saw in 2017 and a very dangerous strategic dynamic that would have adverse consequences for the regional states, including China. So it's in their interest to help get to yes on the North Korean nuclear issue.
And quickly, Robert, the president, before heading to the summit, he said he doesn't believe the DPRK is a nuclear threat anymore. Do you agree with that assessment?
Well, I think administration officials have qualified that statement. What triggered the current crisis, and North Korea has been a nuclear weapon state since 2006, was their emerging capability to strike the U.S. homeland with a ballistic missile and with a nuclear warhead atop it. the Chinese, it is believed, need to do, the North Koreans, it is believed, need to do additional testing to master this complex integrated set of technologies that would allow them to target the U.S. homeland. And here, the moratorium on missile and nuclear testing is a really essential step, and I'm glad that that will continue for the foreseeable future.
We'll have to leave it there. Thank you so much, Robert Litwak.